Hello, everyone. I'm Cole from Selkirk United Church, and this is our midweek message for September 30th, 2020. Did you notice that I'm wearing orange today? Today, September 30th, is Orange Shirt Day, a day to remember students who attended Indian residential schools in Canada. The day is inspired by Phyllis Webstad's experience. On her first day at residential school in 1973, Phyllis was stripped of her new orange shirt, a shirt that had brought her a sense of affirmation and dignity. Now, each year on September 30th, we are encouraged to wear orange to help us remember that, as Phyllis says, every child matters. And this is a day or a week to share the stories of all residential school students and help change the legacy of those schools so that former students and their families not only survive, but thrive. We will be taking some time during our Prairie to Pine regional meeting that is happening this evening to focus on this. And on the United Church of Canada website, there is a prayer that I'd like to offer now, so I invite you to bow your heads in prayer. Today we wear orange to remember and honor all the Indigenous children who went to residential schools. Today we wear orange and we pray for the residential school and intergenerational survivors who are still struggling. Today we wear orange and we are thankful for those who speak the truth and who work to shine a light on injustice. Today we wear orange in the name of compassion and the spirit of truth and reconciliation. Help us, God, to remember and act on this every day. Amen. The United Church of Canada website has some more information about how we can honor this day and continue to work for justice and for truth and reconciliation. I encourage you to check out the website. It's www.united-church.ca, all lowercase letters, united-church.ca. And then you can search for Orange Shirt Day from there. I want to share a couple of brief announcements with you. One is that the scattering garden that we have talked about in our church for a few years now is starting to take shape. A big thank you to the Millers and the Dubays who have been putting in some manual labor as of late. We will continue to update you as more progress is made and as we get closer to completing the garden. Also, midweek message is in two parts this week. First, my part, which you are watching right now. And then, immediately following that, you'll be taken to an update from our Chair of Council, Nancy Muller, who you'll see on the screen right after I'm finished. And Nancy will give you a brief recap of what we talked about at our last Selkirk United Church Council meeting a couple weeks ago. And people have been wondering about whether we are still going to try to have our annual roast beef dinner this year somehow. And the answer is yes. And no, it's not going to be just a YouTube video of me eating a roast beef dinner that you can all watch whenever you want. We're actually going to try feeding you, but it will definitely be different this year. We are calling it a drive-by roast beef dinner, and it will be on October 25th. Sunday's announcements will have some more details about it, about tickets and volunteer opportunities. I can share with you that we have already had someone step forward with the offer of 4 apple pies. So thank you very much to that person. That's a great start. Watch for more information soon, but we will be having roast beef dinner in a different format, October 25th. Okay, that's it for announcements. A colleague of mine sent out an interesting message to some of us the other day that I wanted to share with you. Let me read it in his words. He says, I had an interesting conversation with an old friend who comes to my online services. She drifted away from the church many years ago and has struggled to come back, going so far as to be a church secretary for 2 years to force herself. She said she's just not getting what she wants and needs. She wants sanctuary, an hour of peace and love and total acceptance once a week. She wants the old majestic hymns sung by a men's choir in a lofty, echoing atmosphere. She wants the reassurance that everything is as it was when her father was in the pulpit 50 years ago. She wants to hear the Lord's Prayer again. The minister goes on to say, My services tend not to be like that, and my sermons are usually focused on a scriptural contribution to a contemporary issue. My friend only tunes into my online service because of our long relationship. And then he asks this question: is the church able to meet her needs? He puts the question out to some of his local committee members through email, and he got two responses. One from a recently retired couple who also dearly want that same kind of sanctuary. The other from a man in his mid-80s who said he can appreciate the woman's point, but that kind of service would drive him crazy. Finally, the minister put the question out to the rest of us in ministry, asking us how we structure our services to address contemporary issues and still satisfy the need for tradition and familiar ritual. I won't go into all of the answers that came back, but there were a few dozen responses with all sorts of examples of how different ministers and worship teams try to balance different styles of worship and different needs of different congregation members. I found it to be quite an interesting back and forth discussion. It made me wonder about two different things. First, it made me wonder how we're doing with all of that at Selkirk United. So if any of you have any thoughts on that, just let me know, within reason, of course. I hope nobody asks for me to put on a black robe and start pounding the pulpit and reading from the King James Version of the Bible every Sunday. But if you do, we could at least have a conversation about it. But do let me know how you feel about our worship services and style, and anything that you find uplifting or comforting or challenging, as well as anything that you think is missing. We have a worship committee that loves to talk about these kinds of things, so give us some food for thought. The other thought I had after reading that story was about the woman who was longing for what had been. I wondered whether that was really all about the way worship has changed over the years, or whether maybe for her it had to do with everything else that's going on in the world right now, at least in part. Whether it maybe had to do with a deeper need for peace in her life, for comfort, for something familiar that made her feel like maybe things will be okay. I think we all need some of that right now. I don't have answers for any of that today. Sorry. But I do know that in the sharing of what she was feeling, that woman in the story felt less alone, hopefully less isolated. She had someone who listened and took her feelings seriously. She wasn't alone. And as others took up the story and shared it with still other people, maybe some of those were helped too, or will be as the conversation goes along. That's how it works. I believe that's how God works. As we hear each other's stories, God calls us to hear each other's words through a lens of love and caring and kindness. And the more we do that, each of us, the less of those feelings of isolation and loneliness and despair will exist in the world. The more peace and hope will exist. I want to end with a poem today written by Judy Brown. It was published in her book, The Sea Accepts All Rivers. This one is called Trough. There is a trough in waves, a low spot where horizon disappears, and only sky and water are our company. And there we lose our way, unless we rest, knowing the wave will bring us to its crest again. There we may drown if we let fear hold us within its grip and shake us side to side, and leave us flailing, torn, disoriented. But if we rest there in the trough, are silent, being with the low part of the wave, keeping our energy and noticing the shape of things, the flow, then time alone will bring us to another place where we can see horizon, see the land again, regain our sense of where we are and where we need to swim. That was by Judy Brown. I hope you found the hope in those words. I know I did. That's all for today. I hope this finds you well. Don't change the channel. Nancy will follow this with an update from our church council meeting. Have a good week, everyone, and I'll see you soon.
Hi, Nancy Muller here, Chair of Selkirk United Council. The council wanted to send out some updates from our latest council meeting that was held September 17th. The meeting was by Zoom and we had quorum. We had a report from the scattering garden. We want to thank the Millers and the Dubays for their work on this. We hear grass is being removed and river rock in place with paving stones around it. So that work's ongoing, thank you. The mission statement review is being deferred until our next congregational meeting. Selkirk United will be hosting a drive-by roast beef dinner on October 25th. Now we're just in the planning phase, so just stay tuned. We want to thank Megan Chorney. She's our social media person. She's reporting that views are continuing to climb for all our services and other social media presence. We even had a viewer send a message wishing that she could join our church if she only lived closer. So that's really cool. Online services and messages are well received and reviewed by council at each meeting. There have been requests for baptisms, so the worship committee is looking into how we can make those happen. And we want to thank Kay Little, our treasurer, during this very strange time. She's reporting in her financials that we're in a $5,000 deficit as of August 29th. And that's including the federal wage subsidy. One of the main reasons for that is our lack of rentals during this period. The stewardship committee is meeting before the next council meeting and will be reporting back on their advice at this time. We want to thank Cole and the pastoral team. They've been continuing to provide pastoral care, and right now it's needed more than ever, I'd say. So that's great to hear. Another great work going on with Miranda and the gang is Sunday school, which is now online. And we are in the process of purchasing some Bibles for families to borrow for their households. Our caretaker Destiny is back on light duty while her ankle heals. That's wonderful news for us. And another person to thank is Elaine Elliott, who has retired from the Memorial Fund treasurer position. And we're very grateful that Sharon Richards has taken that position and will be continuing the work. Finally, Selkirk United is looking at redesigning our website. It's in need of update, and it will really increase our online presence and make things more manageable for all the work we're doing online. Really thankful for Chris and Cole and everyone else who's helping with all the modifications we're doing during this time and the great services and other messages we're sending out. I hope that you're enjoying them. Please send us feedback if you have any. We'd love to hear from you, and have a great fall.